Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the flurry of trades that have happened here on trade deadline eve. I cannot believe I remember saying this back in January, in February, March 21st. Guys, we are 1 day away from the big trade deadline. Also, a shout out, guys, we hit 2,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for all the support recently. This channel has been blowing up here ahead of the trade deadline. So I wanted to give some shout outs there to you guys. Thank you so much. And if you aren't subscribed already, you guys, if you want to subscribe just to help out, I absolutely do appreciate that. So with that said, we have a bunch of trades to get into today. There was a lot of stuff going on. Now, for a team that was supposed to be very quiet at the deadline after making the Brandon Hagel trade, Tampa had said, Julian Breezeball said, we are done. We're not making more trades. Yeah, no, they made another trade here just a few days later. So the Tampa Bay Lightning acquire 44.5% of the salary of Nick Paul for the remainder of this season. In exchange, the Ottawa Senators acquire forward Matthew Joseph and a 2024 fourth round pick. Nick Paul was never going to sign with the Ottawa Senators. It sounded like the Senators tried to having a discussion with an extension, and it never really got anywhere. He's currently making $1.35 million, so 44.5% of that is what Tampa Bay's actually going to be taking on for the remainder of this year. He is 27 years old, so he's getting a little bit older at this point. He's been playing in the NHL for a little while. He's got over 200 games in the league. This season, though, he's played pretty well. 18 points in 59 games, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are looking at him as a rental and a guy that could just add some depth to their forward group going into the postseason. So I could say it's a pretty good move for the Tampa Bay Lightning. In exchange, though, the Ottawa Senators get Matthew Joseph, who is from Laval, PQ, which I think you guys can make sure I'm right about this, but I'm pretty sure that's in Quebec. Matthew Joseph is 25 years old, so he's a little bit younger than Nick Paul, and he is a former fourth round pick back in 2015. He also has 200 games in the NHL, so they've actually played a similar amount. This season, he's got 18 points in 58 games with Tampa. He had 19 points in 56 games with the Bolts, and he is a restricted free agent this summer with a salary of basically an entry-level salary, $737.5K. So they get a younger player. They also get the fourth round draft pick. I have to say Tampa wins this trade because they get the best player. But in terms of going into as soon as next year, I think the Ottawa Senators did quite well with this trade with the draft pick and the younger player. We have another trade, and this is where things start to get interesting. So we knew that the Toronto Maple Leafs were going to move Travis Dermott. It actually sounded like it was going to be a West Coast team, and it was the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks won the sweepstakes of getting Travis Dermott. The Vancouver Canucks acquire Travis Dermott. In exchange, the Maple Leafs acquire a 2022 third-round pick, which is the Winnipeg Jets draft pick. Travis Dermott has been a member of the Leafs for a while now. He's 25 years old. He's played in the NHL for now. This is his fifth NHL season. He had 5 points in 43 games this year with the Leafs. He's just not been anything all that great. Now, I guess one thing you could look at in his first 5 seasons in the league, he's been a minus player only twice in those 5 years. This year, he's actually been a +4. He just hit his 100 penalty minutes. He's got 52 points in over 200 games in the league. His contract ends next summer. He's making $1.5 million for the rest of this season and next year as a restricted free agent. So I have to say that, again, not a terrible trade here for the Canucks. They get a young player for a third-round draft pick, and hopefully they'll get something out of him that Toronto just couldn't get. And like I said, at 25 years old, there's something there. But it did seem like a little bit of a high price tag. You look at their defense already. He might be a third-pairing defenseman, depending on how things shake out with Vancouver. You look at, they're probably not touching the top pair. You have Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers. Quinn Hughes, Luke Shen has been rumored to get traded, Brad Hunt, Noah Juleson. Those last three guys I mentioned between Shen, Hunt, and Juleson could all move. So that gives a spot for Travis Dermott either in the third pair or potentially even in the second pair. I think that would be a little bit interesting to see how that plays out for the Canucks. But that's something to keep an eye on. Now we have another trade. This is just crazy because of how good he was last year in Detroit and how he's now getting traded for a 7th round pick. So again, former Vancouver Canucks defenseman Troy Stecher traded to the Los Angeles Kings from the Detroit Red Wings. In exchange, the Detroit Red Wings acquire a 2022 7th round pick from the Los Angeles Kings. Troy Stecher is 27 years old. He had some disagreements with the Red Wings and with the Canucks a couple years back. Ended up signing as a free agent with the Detroit Red Wings. And he's been pretty good. I mean, he's going to probably hit 400 games pretty early on into next season. He's got 88 points in his career, 2 points in 16 games with the Red Wings this year. He was a lot more productive last year. He had 11 points in 44 games, which for a pretty well-known stay-at-home defenseman is not bad. His contract does end this summer. He is an unrestricted free agent, making $1.7 million. Again, this is a depth defenseman here for the Los Angeles Kings. We knew they wanted to add left shot defenseman. Troy Stecher is a right shot defenseman, so kind of makes you wonder if that's not the end of the story here for the Kings. It's just another defenseman to add in there. So I do like the trade overall. With that said, we have another trade. I know we got a bunch of trades for you guys here. Travis Hamonic goes back to the East Coast. He becomes a member of the Ottawa Senators. In exchange, the Vancouver Canucks acquire a 2022 third-round draft pick. Travis Hamonic at 31 years old. He's on the final... his contract ends next year. He's making $3 million for this season and $3 million next season. He has been a little bit underwhelming this season for the Canucks. He's got 7 points in 24 games, and he really hasn't been anywhere near the level he was as a New York Islander. Even in Calgary, he struggled to get points. His best season in the NHL came in the 2014-2015 season. You're going almost a decade back now at this point. He had 33 points in 71 games with the Islanders, and he's never really gotten to that form since then. Travis Hamonic, for the most part, again, he's been with the Calgary Flames, traded to Calgary because of some family issues that were going on, so he wanted to be closer to home. Stays closer, going to the Vancouver Canucks, and then inevitably ends up now back on the East Coast with the Ottawa Senators. He's going to hit his first game as a member of the Senators, will be his 700th game in the NHL. Pretty strong remarks there. 205 points in his career. Travis Hamonic is a good, stable defenseman. I don't know where the Senators are necessarily going to play him. I do see him as more of a second pairing defenseman. I hope they don't put him on the top pair, but I'm sure they will try it here down the stretch just to see what they have in Travis Hamonic. But that is definitely interesting moving forward. We have another trade. The Florida Panthers, again, making another trade, adding some more depth once again. The Florida Panthers acquire defenseman Robert Hagel. In exchange, the Buffalo Sabres acquire the Calgary Flames 2022 6th round draft pick. Robert Hagel, 27 years old. He's still fairly young considering. This is a guy that was very highly sought after. He was a second-round pick in 2014. Spent a lot of time with the Flyers. Spent a lot of time in the AHL, 4 seasons in the Flyers AHL affiliate between the Phantoms and then inevitably the Flyers. He would play with the Flyers for 5 seasons up until this year, where he ended up getting traded to the Sabres as a part of the Rasmus Ristolainen trade. So we see another asset from that trade from last summer getting dealt out. He has 8 points in 48 games with the Sabres this year. Really just nothing all that impressive. And then you look at his totals. He's probably going to hit 300 games by the end of this regular season. His contract does end this summer, an unrestricted free agent rental. He's a left shot defenseman, which I think is good there for the Florida Panthers. And like I said, $1.6 million for the remainder of this season. And then we get to the big trade, and that is the trade where Mark Giordano, the first captain in Seattle Kraken history, gets traded out. Quick water break. All right. Here we go. Let's go. So, the Toronto Maple Leafs got their defenseman. They wanted a defenseman so badly, right? Well, they got their defenseman and they got another asset. So the Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell from the Seattle Kraken. In exchange, the Kraken acquire a 2022 second-round pick from the Maple Leafs, 2023 second-round pick, and 2024 third-round draft pick. All those picks are from the Maple Leafs. So let's break this trade down a little bit more. So the Seattle Kraken give up Colin Blackwell, an expansion player last year from the New York Rangers. That's a guy they selected. He was a former 7th round draft pick back in 2011. He's still kicking around the NHL. 28 years old. He really got his start as a pro in 2016-17, playing in San Jose. Went to the Rochester Americans. Inevitably was bouncing his way around the AHL. Went to Milwaukee. Played with the Admirals. Got his first NHL experience in the 2018-19 season, and then since then has been a member of the NHL. You look at his season with the Rangers, he spent one season with the Rangers, 22 points in 47 games, not too bad. And this season he's put up pretty nice totals this year as well. He has 17 points, 8 goals, 9 assists through 39 contests this year. He just played his 100th game in the NHL. He's got 119. One more points, he'll hit the 50-point mark. So another pretty good milestone there. He is on an entry level, well, he's getting paid minor league money. He's getting paid $725K for the remainder of this season. That's when his contract will end. This is a good depth, really a good depth piece for the Maple Leafs. And maybe telling of, maybe we do end up seeing that Alex Kerfoot trade, because I could see him kind of replacing Kerfoot in the lineup, and he's a hell of a lot cheaper than Kerfoot. Then comes the big piece of this deal. Another Toronto native coming back to the mecca of hockey. Mark Giordano, a left shot defenseman, 38 years old. He's been playing in the NHL since the 2005-2006 season, was undrafted, and came to the Calgary Flames. Mark Giordano is the example of just a great overall hockey player and a great defenseman. Mark Giordano has played in over 1,000 games in the NHL, 1,004 to be exact. He's got 532 points in the league. He was the Norris Trophy winner back in the 2018-19 season, and in the 2019-2020 season, he won the Mark Messier NHL Leadership Trophy. So he's got a lot of trophies and accolades on his resume. His contract will end this summer, $6.75 million for the Maple Leafs. That is cut in half, though. It's 50% of the salary is retained by the Seattle Kraken. Now, how does this play out for the roster now? They've made a couple of moves looking at the Leafs. They moved out Dermott. They bring in Mark Giordano. This defense looks pretty solid. Right now, you've got Morgan Riley, Ilya Lyubushkin, TJ Brody, and Mark Giordano as your top 4. Rasmus Sandin and Justin Hall round out your top 6 on the third pair. Honestly, I have to say that this is a great trade by Kyle Dubas. I have not been a huge fan of Dubas, and I think a lot of you guys see that. Sometimes you're like, oh, he's just a biased Islander fan. No, I'm going to be honest. I think this is a good trade for the Leafs. Once Jake Muzzin comes back, if he comes back healthy during the regular season, I think this is really what pushed them down that route. Mark Giordano wanted to go to the Leafs. The Leafs wanted a defenseman that wanted to be in Toronto. And who knows, he might sign this summer for a cheap $1 million contract to stay a member of the Leafs and add some more depth to this roster. Like I said, great trade for both sides. And I think in terms of as long as Jake Muzzin comes back healthy, I think this is a trade that can help them come playoff time. And this is going to be a really good Leafs team. I really do like what they've done here. And like I said, Blackwell kills penalties, sort of that kind of player. I think this is a great trade. I think the Kraken probably should have got a first-round pick. I know that's what people are really upset about is They didn't get that first round pick. They didn't get Matthew Nyes. They didn't get any of those good players that, Dubas was pretty adamant, we aren't trading those guys for a veteran defenseman. So this is fair market value, truthfully. It's not an overpayment by the Leafs. But I think for Seattle, they're seeing what Ben Chiarot got, what Brandon Hagel's getting, what these other players are getting, even Claude Giroux. They couldn't even get that. And I think they are thinking a little bit like we should have got a little bit more. So guys, let me know what you think of these trades. Which one do you think is going to be the most significant going into the Stanley Cup playoffs? We're going to get a lot more trades tomorrow. So if you are not subscribed already, make sure you are, because tomorrow we are going to have a ton of videos throughout the day. It's going to be a busy one tomorrow, as tomorrow, March 21st, is officially the NHL trade deadline. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.